what's this interesting stuff, Aditi? Dots, I love it. Ah,
This,
pointillism, like pointillism.
no, no. So
Uh,
this is contemporary art by a Japanese artist called Yayoi Kusama. So I did this.
oh,
We are doing a lot of historic artists, but this one, moving on historically from Impressionism, coming through abstract cubism. This is an interesting thing to do. And I did this with the kids' class
oh,
on Monday. It was last Monday, something like that. And it turned the pictures turned out so cute.
yeah, I can
I had
imagine.
to share them. It's a very interesting artwork. We
Yeah.
often we are not really exposed to contemporary art as much. We don't see it in public places, but at the NMACC till 11th of Feb, they have a pop art exhibit, which I think all of you should go. Anyone who's in
Oh,
Bombay,
okay.
please go and see it. And I assume that a whole day it should be dedicated to that
Okay.
because they cover a lot of the artists that, I mean, a lot of influential artists, which we don't get to see often over here. Three that are mentioned and that they are promoting are there's an Andy Warhol, Keith Haring, and Roy Lichtenstein. But if we're lucky, we will also have someone like Jasper Johns. So these guys, I mean, it's work that you should see because we will have seen it either in movies or in media, and that does not do justice to the style, to the thought process, and worst of all, we judge it based on a completely different set of aesthetic appreciation. So you don't have to like it, but you have to see it. So I thought, and also there is one big exhibit by Yayoi Kusama herself. So this one, I thought if we do it, the others we can't really do. It's about silk screen printing and stuff like that. But this one is a nice one to do so that we can introduce ourselves to what contemporary art means. So often
Zai,
yeah,
Zai not here today?
sorry,
Is Zai not here today?
Sai is not here yet.
Oh, it's her birthday today.
Oh, oh, maybe she's busy. Maybe she'll join us in a bit. Okay, so today we will recreate a painting by this Japanese artist called Yayoi Kusama. So a little background about how I discovered her, and I'm going to encourage all of you to do this experiment also. About 6 years ago, I was teaching at the school at Vidya Valley, my kids' school, and I used to do an extended art program with some of the older kids. And one of the projects that I would give them every year, the juniors would be given a set of artists to create a presentation. They just needed to make a one-page presentation of some artist that was assigned to them, not an artist they liked. And they were supposed to hunt out information and write about that artist. So there was one girl, I think her name was Arya. I gave her this assignment. She was supposed to do Yayoi Kusama. She's a very sincere student. And I would go once a week. So she came the week after she was assigned this artist and said, I don't like this artist. Why don't you give me somebody meaningful? Like, I'll do a Van Gogh, I'll do a Picasso. I don't care if somebody else is also doing it, I'll do it also. So I told her, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't mind if you do another one. So do Yayoi Kusama first. Understand the artist and their art, and then you can do another one if you think this is not up to your taste. So I gave it a week, and I think something happened. There was a holiday, so we missed a class. So I met her 2 or maybe even 3 weeks later. And she comes back and she says, continue Yayoi Kusama because I think she's fascinating. I thought it was just polka dots and I was very disappointed. But the more I read about her, it started making sense and now I quite enjoy it. So this is exactly why I would give these assignments to students, simply because we always have a perception of what we like in art or anything, in fact. And we are very comfortable with that boundary. We think that this is where I want to be for various reasons. For some people, it is relatability. For some people, it might be aspiration, inspiration. But then, when there's something new that we are confronted, there has to be a way in which we should learn to see it. You don't have to include it within your boundary, but you don't exclude it without learning more about it. And then there's a reason why you keep it somewhere in a separate place where it's not in the light, but it is not in the unknown space. So Yayoi Kusama has somewhat of a um, it's the kind of art pretty much in the same line as Picasso, where someone sees it and will shrug and say, "What is the big deal? It's just polka dots. What is the point? You just take something and put polka dots in it." And that's how it is expressed. In that, it is so simple. The expression is so simple that anyone can do it. A lot of times I find that when the expression of art is very simplified, for the uninitiated, it seems like it's not art. It should not be called art. Show me something more complicated. Show me something that I won't be able to replicate, then that will be art. Otherwise, I don't want to give this credit. But that is not how art works, definitely not how contemporary art should work. Contemporary art can be either very complicated or very simple, but the relatability, or at least the channel with which you have to relate to the art, is a very personal dialogue. So, in that case, when you look at the art, the background is important, where that art comes from, why the artist has chosen this medium and this expression for the art. Because then it you get clues, or sometimes even like a floodlit expression of an experience that um, you might be able to share in the same light, literally. So in the case of Yayoi Kusama, there is lots of literature out there which I'm going to encourage all of you to read. I obviously can't condense it and share it with you right now, but one significant factor that became important for her when she was making this art was an incident that occurred to her when she was about 10. I think there was some problem with her sight, and she started hallucinating and she started seeing dots. This has happened to many of us also. When you look at something in bright light, or you come out from bright sunlight and you are indoors, suddenly you start seeing the whole space around you is full of dots or some kind of residual impression of the bright picture. So in her head, something happened where she saw this vision and then she translated into a thought where it's almost like the dots were permeating through space. And through infinite space, you had only dots. They were almost like representative particles of everything that is made of. So in that, imagine a 10-year-old thinking that these are all particles and I'm just seeing their consolidated form. But if I were to maybe blow it up, I will eventually just see dots. So if you think about it, these dots can mean something much more, almost like a physics concept. So if you translate something as simple as polka dots into literally the very DNA of all matter, then her paintings start becoming much more profound. So this is the kind of investigation that helps you to see art with the meaning behind it, relate to it, and then you can also apply your own meaning to it. When you see a painting of a building or a landscape or a portrait of a person, on the one hand, you can marvel at the skill of the artist. But when you see contemporary art, you put skill, you just suspend skill for a moment and you dive into the inner working that is represented temporarily by that piece of art. And that's why contemporary art has moved away from just even painting. So you have things like um, you have conceptual art, you have performance art, you will also have installation pieces. So Yayoi Kusama does a lot of installation work as well. One of her works was where she's taken, I think, something like metallic looking balls, which she's just floated onto water in a lake. Identical sized balls. And it looks so curious. It is not natural. You see that space and suddenly you're taken aback. How are these metal balls floating in this space of water? This becomes installation art. So the impact that it has more significance than just its outward look. That is where I want you to be. Now, the paintings that I've shared with you, or the art that I've shared with you, is just a smattering of her work. When you Google search, you will see a lot of stuff that she's done, and some really mad stuff in the 70s. She is 94 years old, by the way. So she has seen it all. She has met all the important people and I think done everything. So you will come across some videos or some photographs of her making polka dots on these nude men standing in front of a court, protesting against some war. So she's done that. She's been a very sensational artist as well. But what remains now are these pieces, which are exhibited everywhere, very often all over the world. And much of this art has now started creeping into, I guess, the joy that people are getting. So a lot of designers also have been using her style to promote their own work. You will come across, I think she's done something with Louis Vuitton, and then she's done something where I can't remember which magazine, but George Clooney is wearing a polka dot suit. It seems completely faltu, but in the context of her paintings, it makes a lot of sense. So, just as homework, please do Google and find out a little more. And like we did with the Monet painting, I would like you to write a small note about a few things that you've learned of her. This would just be an introduction for you about her work as we go along. So let me share the images.
Aditi, there used to also be a cartoon character called Little Dot. I don't know if you remember, with Richie Rich.
Yes,
And so I don't know whether that was inspired by her work or what, but
that
it was very similar to this. Everything, like,
everything was dotted. Yeah, but
dotted.
very
Yeah,
funny.
very cute. Yeah.
We should hunt it out actually, and you should maybe write about the fact that this reminded you of
Yeah.
Little Dot.
That was the first thing I thought of instantly. Little Dot.
I've totally forgotten about that whole book. It used to be so entertaining. This Richie Rich and Archie
Richie Rich,
books.
Lotta, and Dot.
Yeah. Okay, so for some reason, this pumpkin is a recurring motif in her work. There are red pumpkins, white pumpkins, yellow pumpkins, and all of them are filled with dots. Now, if we have to recreate it, only when we have to recreate it, would you give a thought to how the dots are made? Um, we can see that the background looks like the dots are all just like wallpaper, but the pumpkin seems to be seated in between these dots. So it almost seems like an impossible image. Like there is an infinite space, yet the pumpkin has a base. Then you have this, I think this is the infinity room. I'm not very sure. Huh? And something like that is exhibited at NMACC. There are long lines, but I think it's totally worth it, huh, going there. I'm going to go on the 10th of Feb. So if you walk into the room, I can just imagine the disappointment of a lot of people who just walk in and say, "अरे कुछ नहीं है यार, सिर्फ dots बनाकर रखा है, इसमें क्या देखना है?" So I I would encourage you to even listen to all these comments of people. These are natural and this is perfectly fine. Okay, here's another. This could also be an infinity room. So sometimes she puts mirrors and the dots are reflected on the mirrors, and the other side of the pumpkin would be reflected in the mirror. So in a corner like that, you would see three pumpkins, one real, two virtual, against a backdrop of dots. Then she has got these wonderful installations. They are huge sculptures. They could be up to, I guess, 10, 15 feet also. And all very weird. This is like Dr. Seuss with measles. Everything looks very cute and big and weird shapes. So I also wanted to find some of her other paintings. Now, I'm not very sure about the date of these paintings, but this looks like a slightly hatke version of just the dots. Of course, there's evidence of dots in a lot of places, even in this painting, but there are also other textures. Like the texture inside this blue thing almost looks like she's just shaved eyebrows and thrown them over here. Or if collectively the whole thing looks almost like a colorful, stained, microscopic image of germs or something. So, if we think about what kind of art we normally do, and then what this looks like, it's quite, it's quite, I guess, simplified. So I want you to think about how, or if at all, you find this compelling. And I'll continue to break that down for you. Okay, this is she. And she has a very distinctive look. She always looks like she's mad at something. She wears this very bright red wig and bright red lipstick. Extremely unique look. And she wears these huge tent dresses these days. So, a thing to consider whenever you're looking at art is if it is compelling. You don't have to like it. It does not have to be beautiful. It does not have to be high skill. And the reason I'm saying this is because the feeling of being compelled by something is more important than being impressed. This way, I mean, if you keep that part active in you, you will find that there are a lot of things around you that are compelling, that you feel you connect with and that you want to put down. So I want you to all shift away from doing only something that is going to be impressive or attractive. That is a very limited vision for art. You could take three different stainless steel bartan and put them in a different orientation, and that can also be a compelling piece of art. So all of these things are not emotions that come on day one. This is like a muscle for you to be able to recognize what would be compelling, what attracts attention, what say draws attention, and what keeps your attention at something where a passerby will just do a double take because what they see is compelling. You know what I mean? It's not the same as good looking necessarily. So now what I want you to do, this is very simple. It's going to be full time pass. Choose whichever artwork you want to and try to recreate that. You could choose even that big piece with all the artworks and make a mural of 4 pieces or 6 pieces. You could choose the sculpture. I'll just share the screen so I can show you. And I'm going to show you a picture that I've done of this in the kids class. So try to flatten this. Don't try to draw it like 3D. Don't make it too complicated for yourself. Use these shapes and change them. to suit your skill and your taste. Even this, you can just make a pumpkin-like shape and paint dots on it. Now, this could be a little difficult because here it's almost like a study of how a dot will look on a three-dimensional surface. So forget this one. I don't want you to fall in this trap. But if you want to, you can use this as inspiration and create something like a small infinity room of your own. Use maybe old containers. This object in the front almost looks like a light bulb. Paint a color on top of that and then make precise circular dots on that. Put them all together, maybe in a basket, and it'll become its own sculpture, its own art form. These are also very nice. I quite like these. So as you can see, proportion, placement, none of it really matters. It is just very a rough estimate of where you want to make stuff is also good enough. Now here again, you can make the pumpkin in isolation and you don't necessarily need to make the room. That's because if you see how the dots are on all these four surfaces, the floor, ceiling, and the two walls, there is some kind of distortion so that these dots will make it look like a three-dimensional room. If you want to, it would be a great exercise. You will make the circles in the bottom flattened ovals, the circles in the on the walls vertically flattened. Likewise, the ovals on the top will be again horizontally flattened. So this becomes a slightly more advanced exercise, but you're welcome to give it a shot. And these you can literally just take any four and try to recreate them. I think this will be fun. Okay, so let me show you a picture of what we did in the kids' class. Also, another thing, because these colors are so bright, if you have markers or sketch pens or even crayons that you want to use, this is a nice place to use it.
How do you spell her name, Aditi?
I'll show you. It's there on the kids' art page.
Wow, it looks beautiful, yeah.
Oh, nice. Wow.
I like the way you've made her face also.
Yeah, because it's just so distinctive. It's
But it's looking
unmistakable.
so cute.
And here's another one. Oh, I have to share this image with you. Sorry. One more flower. She does this beautiful sculpture also. Let me share that with you too. I don't know how this got lost. So these were made with this set. And it's a very nice fatafat illustration. You don't have to do too much.
They're the brush pens, are they?
Brush pens, yes.
Yeah.
Let me add the flower also. I don't know how I missed sending you the flower. Yeah, I've sent one more image. Now, I tried really hard to look for this whole wall of paintings that I've shared with you, the individual images for that wall, and I found nothing. So I don't know whether these are old paintings or whether they are not exhibited anymore or they are um, deliberately kept hidden somewhere, God knows. So all I found was images of these being exhibited. So now, unfortunately, I don't know whether they are individual panels. They look like individual panels, which are just put together and create a huge wall. But they could be one painting also. I have no idea.
Aditi, could you share pictures of the ones you've done with the kids as well?
Yeah, I'll share that.
They're really cute.
I had so much fun making those. And so did the kids. I should share what the kids have also made.
I shared one with mushrooms. That's also really cute.
Mushrooms.
Yeah.
Very
I like
doable,
it.
no?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
So
Yeah.
nice. Happy birthday, Zai.
Happy birthday, Zai.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Zai.
What a
Thank you.
lovely way to spend your birthday.
True.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
So, Zai, you can make birthday balloons. Anyway, we are doing a circular motive. You just have circle, circle, circle balloons. Or you have one big balloon which you can then dot with polka dots and make your own Yayoi Kusama balloon.
Yeah. I'm just sharing a couple more that I have downloaded, which I find interesting in case.
Yeah, yeah, good. Go ahead, go ahead. That'll be very nice. Oh,
That's quite
wow,
for choice.
very nice. Beautiful. In many ways, her work also is reminiscent of Aboriginal art because they do a lot of dotted art as well. And on the face of it, I I don't find the colors that she uses close to me at all. They're too jhatak. The combinations are just I would never reach for those colors at all together. But after you do it, after you make the artwork, it's just something that you don't, there's a certain familiarity that builds where you don't mind that it exists, I think. It doesn't, you may not like it right away. Sometimes for me, it happens that I just tend to like it also. Many artists. The only one so far who I've not tried because I absolutely don't like his work is Kandinsky. But I suspect if I do a study of Kandinsky, I'll like him also.
Aditi, at
Yeah.
some point when we are talking about modern art,
Huh.
I came across the paintings of Mark Rothko.
Ah, yes.
I just don't get them.
Ah, okay.
I mean,
I
yeah,
spoke about this even yesterday at yesterday's class. All right. So tell me what your impression is.
I don't have any impression. I'm like, give a kid crayons and tell them to just draw flat lines. I mean, blocks. I don't get it.
Okay,
I'm
so
surprised at myself because I generally do appreciate all art. but this is so beyond me. I'm just going to share a picture on the group
Do
so
it,
that,
yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm talking about, and everybody knows what I'm talking about for
Yes,
that picture.
yeah.
So the last one, paintings by Mark Rothko, and
Hmm.
see what they're selling at. Okay,
Hmm.
but let me send some individual ones.
Huh.
I don't get them.
Wow.
It's nice. I'm not saying it's not nice.
You are actually free to say it's not nice also.
Uh,
For the obscene amount that they're selling at, it's not nice. I mean, they could fund, I guess, a small country with that money
yeah,
painting.
absolutely. It's beyond me. Something is.
Okay,
So there
so
was this
just to,
Indian artist also called Bulbul Singh. I don't know if you've heard of him. He used
yeah,
to make stuff like this. This is just like, swatches of colors kind of melting into one another, and but that was it.
can you check the size of these paintings?
Well, I've sent one where there's a furniture in the foreground, so
Huh,
you'll know.
right.
There's a console with the
Mhm.
painting at the back. I'm guessing
Yes.
they're approximately similar size or larger,
They'll be larger, some of
because
them.
otherwise there's no point.
Yeah.
So I've visited the Rothko Chapel. It's in Houston.
Hmm.
Okay.
Uh, so basically, it's just it. The inside you have to be very quiet, and you just the walls are very dark. There are benches to sit, and basically you just sit there and reflect. So that was good, but I would never buy any of his paintings.
Hmm.
So I think it's just that experience when you are there and looking at it, minus if you had a really big house with really large walls and then you hang it on that, maybe it'll give a different feeling. I don't know.
But I have, after seeing these paintings, I have set up a challenge for myself that I'm going to try and make one similar and see what I feel when I make it, you
Hmm.
know, rather when I'm viewing it, what do I actually feel when I'm making it, and how do my sensibilities come across when I'm picking the colors and why.
Right.
Otherwise, if I want to sit and reflect, I'll rather go and look at a sunset somewhere
Hmm.
and look at the colors of the sky, if you know what I mean. Because
Yeah.
at the moment, this is doing nothing for me. So I thought, why not see if I feel something, if I create something like that?
Correct.
What would the colors actually mean to me?
So here's the thing, my feelings were exactly the same about these Rothko paintings. Let me share while I speak, so you know what I'm referring to. Now, these vertical paintings are usually the smaller paintings. You might come across much larger paintings. Let's speak about this one. So this is in front of you. So Mark Rothko belonged to a set of artists that were exploring minimalism. So again, minimalists are those abstract artists who are often marked as lazy people. They don't want to do anything. They'll just put three dots on a painting and say, now buy it for $50,000. So, and that's actually quite nice. That's an easy cheat. Call yourself a minimalist. Like often I say, when your artwork is not up to mark, you can always say that you are a postmodern expressionist because anything goes. But here's the thing with minimalism, you are expected to be able to communicate a lot with as little as you can use. So the thought behind it is very complicated. Now let's assume that Mark Rothko was genuinely trying a minimalist idea. He is not faking it. So when I visited one exhibit this was in 2016, I went in with an open mind. I said, if I already say that I'm not, this is rubbish and I'm not going to see it, I'll waste an opportunity. So this was a very long painting, must have been maybe 15, 20 feet wide and about 6 to 7 feet tall. It's huge painting. And it was in one or maybe two maximum shades of red. So it was just like a red painting throughout. And I thought, okay, this is a waste of money. Just go over here and watch this red painting. So the difference is that oftentimes when we have seen paintings, we see them as a small version of themselves in a magazine. So we have printing quality, we have that size disparity, and we are supposed to respond to that painting. Sure, a thumbnail of an image is going to look like a thumbnail. Even a thumbnail of Mona Lisa is going to bring to mind the Mona Lisa, but you can't really see the skill or the details in it. That's one factor. But the thing with Mark Rothko paintings is, like Zai was saying, there is a specific way in which you have to experience the painting. It's not about seeing the painting. Seeing a picture of the painting is just saying, okay, this is a Mark Rothko so-and-so painting. This is what I'm referring to. And you cannot enjoy it until you come within its sphere. This is what I experienced. So, with this red painting, I went and stood in front of it. And they said, the longer you stand observing the painting, the more you will start seeing the painting. And I must admit, those sounds silly. You could, in that, so the room was about maybe 8 or 10 feet wide. It was 20 feet long. On one wall was this long painting. It was very dimly lit. And then you went and stood in front of the painting. It was deliberately made dim because at that light, that color, the red color that he had chosen, actually felt like it was pulsating. So to be able to create a pulsating sensation when you know it is flat, you know that it's just one or maybe two colors, there is something that he must have put into it. He must have felt that this size, where when you go and stand in a narrow room, when you go and stand in front of it, you see that red permeate through that entire field of vision. It's not just a wall. So the scale of the painting matters, the color matters, the illumination matters, the distance from where you stand matters. All of this becomes the art, not just what you see in the frame. And this is what we miss out when we only see it as a picture, because obviously you're not going to get the remaining 80% of the experience. And that's what is never communicated to us. So we'll see the painting and everyone say, "Arey, wow, wow, this is so great." What they're trying to say is when you see it and in the conditions that you're supposed to see it, this is a great painting. That's how I think you can really appreciate it. At the end of the day, it still
I was
remains just a patch of color.
I
Yeah.
was curious to know what Zai's experience was. I mean, did
So,
she feel some emotion?
so I did, but it was, I think, my first contemporary or I don't know what to call it. Is it contemporary?
Yeah,
It is.
this would be contemporary. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was my first experience sitting in a room that was a part of his, was supposed to be his art. Uh, so what I felt was if I close my eyes and if there is light, then what can I see when my eyes are closed? What colors are there? If I'm sitting in front of the sun with my eyes closed, then that's a different color that I see than if I was sitting in a place away from the sun. So that's what I felt at that time. And I was with my uncle who doesn't understand art at all. In fact, he gets angry looking at the wasted resources. Like I'd spent some time with him in a sculpture garden in New Orleans, and he came out fuming, mad. He was like, "Why are they wasting so many resources on this? Why is this art?" There was a giant safety pin. So imagine him in that chapel, and he just lost it, I think. so so yeah. So basically, I also thought maybe if you close your eyes when you're angry, you will see that color that he's trying to paint. So.
Yeah, that is also possible. There are many ways. That's what I mean, how When I use the word compelling, there are many ways in which art affects us. But again, I bring it down to the fact that our exposure to art is very different, and by that I mean all art concern. Our purpose for us, purpose of art is very specific, culturally, historically. So, because we have a different mindset from the Western stream of art, we look at it from a very different angle. We literally have to walk in through the front door of that culture, be introduced, be given a tour of the house, and only then we will remember and appreciate the geography. But we are looking at it from our own house, outside our window, and then through a window into their house. That is, we have a long way to translate. So we have our understanding, we have our whatever minimal visual arts, but mostly the temple arts that we have, the prints or the textures, all of it has a certain meaning, which in itself is huge. And then you see something like Rothko. Imagine you have temples like Khajuraho and then you have a Rothko and you say, these are great, they are both the same. Nobody in India is going to say, yeah, what you're saying is right. It's just totally, you keep your art to yourself. You go paint your own canvases. We know what art is. That's how we come at it. We come at it with lots. So the thought process for Indian arts is also very huge. So the kind of metaphoric art that we do in temples and in even sometimes with textiles is in itself also huge, but it's very different. There's a different kind of philosophy, a different kind of exploration that takes place over there.
So in this context, Aditi, so I have one friend who is an artist and she also meditates a lot.
Oh,
And she has some visions. So she makes personal paintings for people. She meditates on them, and depending on their energy or what they want there in their lives, she gets some vision, and that is what she paints.
okay.
It's very personal for each of them.
Huh.
Maybe I have it one on my phone. I can share.
I'm trying to look for that Rothko. I'm sure I've taken a picture. Yeah, I can show you. Another person that you will not understand or appreciate much would be uh, Jackson Pollock. That is also very funny. Okay, I think this is it. But I can't be sure now because usually I take a picture of the plaque. But I haven't taken this. So I'm not sure whether this was the painting that I saw because this looks very brightly lit. It looks very close to that. I'll just dig up a little more information, what exhibits they had that year, that day, and I'll find. Oh, wait, I might as well show you what I saw, since we are on the topic. So here's one very interesting one. This one would be, I think, Jasper John. This is the American flag. So you'll see things like that in a contemporary art museum, which can be uh, rather annoying for regular people. It's an old piece of quilt which has just been framed with some new canvas and some really messy paint thrown in. Again, I would go at it with an open mind, read what's written about it, and then I would put it somewhere in the not unknown anymore space. But I won't say I would like it.
I think I would share, Aditi ma'am. I have seen in this National Gallery of Modern Art, you know, we
Mm,
have in Delhi. Uh,
mm,
so there are few which are fixed, like, you know, artists which are
right.
designed for every time, but they bring in new. So I think I have seen something from Rabindranath Tagore, and I just
Ah,
could not get it what he was trying, you know, to paint. I just went in to just soak in, you know, what people are drawing and to appreciate. But when I saw, I said, I mean, why the hell you are drawing such kind of faces? And then, you know, so I could not get it. Like now I understand when people are, you know, everyone is talking about these things. So there are few things, you know, our mind takes time to sink in that, you know, probably there is something that they are trying to convey even with that particular thing that they have drawn, which looks bit ugly to my mind, but maybe it has something still to say.
yeah. I think one of the biggest things that you can do is just stay open-minded. And for the right person, like if you meet somebody, a friend of yours who said, "Oh, have you gone and seen this Rabindranath Tagore paintings? And they're so amazing." You are free to say, "I don't like them," rather than saying, "I don't understand them" first. So then, if that person is open-minded enough, they would also not be offended by it. The whole point of contemporary art is to allow for a lot of people to have all their opinions. If you did not have that, if you did not want that, then Egyptian art is what you should have followed. That's 2000 years, nobody has any opinion. There's one opinion of the pharaoh that matters. Everybody has to toe the line. You like it, you don't like it, not their problem. So if you can have an open-minded discussion, that is where you feed off of each other's ideas and brains. You start clashing thoughts, and from there, new ideas come, new understanding, allowing each other's opinions to exist, tolerance, all of that comes from there.
Yeah.
So, contemporary art is more about dialogue, about self-discovery, about discovering somebody else's mind. It's it's about you really have to just allow yourself to feel, not necessarily all positives, but
Yeah.
just open enough to feel is good enough. Your A walk through a contemporary art museum should be transforming. You have to come out of that museum becoming a completely different person because of all that you have been responding to. Then that museum is worth it.
Yeah. I
And
think I had that experience when we did a retreat in Goa, you know, that Museum of Goa. I think I
ah,
had that experience coming out of it. Then I realized, oh, there was, I mean, when you look at it at the start and you try to, you know, judge things, then I mean, you have lost it. But then when you give it an opportunity with an open mind, I think it was a lot of what I could learn from there. Mm.
Actually, just now I just want to share something. When Aditi showed the quilt with the canvas on top and the paint running down, without second guessing, it just came to my mind, oh, this is what it must feel like in a Syrian refugee camp.
oh, yeah, see?
It, without analyzing that, the first thought I got is, this is what people must be feeling like over there. I don't know why,
But
but
that's
it,
great. It does
yeah,
seem a very interesting
yeah,
visual. It makes sense.
I think it does. Yeah.
So this was another artist that we did on Tuesday, Mark Chagall. That not one of my favorites. I've never done this before. One student in the Tuesday batch requested because as a child, she grew up with prints of Mark Chagall from a calendar that her father had got from someone. So it's like a very roundabout thing. And she requested, since we are doing artists, can we do Mark Chagall? I I absolutely don't like this color combination. I find this hideous. And then I had to be open-minded. So I went ahead and studied a little bit, and everything made sense. Why the colors were used, and why these weird animals and all of it. It every time that something like that happens, the crazier the art form, and the more I learn about it, the more I allow it. That's about it. I don't dislike it anymore. And then, of course, we have the usual suspects. They're always great to enjoy. So this is Jackson Pollock.
Aditi, doesn't it have a lot to do with the frame of mind that you are in?
It could, I'm sure. All of so when we are to experience art, any kind of art, our frame of mind must play a large role. This I made a Jackson Pollock like painting with kids once. It's a great thing to do with kids. You just take a large piece of paper, you take some acrylic paint, or you even get these paints for kids, which are non-toxic, and you give them in paper cups or something, and you create a feel like how Jackson Pollock used to paint. He would put his entire canvas on the floor, and then he would walk all around it, dribbling paint all over. There's a very lovely movie you must watch. It stars Ed Harris as Jackson Pollock. And as always, alcoholic, very troubled psycho artists. I don't know why they have to be like that, but maybe that is where that angst builds in and they can make whatever paintings they want to. But it's worth watching, definitely. So the kids, I remember when I did this, the youngest kid was 4 or 5, oldest was maybe 7 or 8. So they made this, and then there were slightly older kids from 8 to about 11 who did the Impressionist painting. So we had 2 paintings to exhibit at the end of our workshop, summer workshop, this was. And while they were doing this, I kept talking about who the artist was and what he painted with and what were the colors. And I gave them the freedom to choose whatever colors they wanted, because they would also then be able to say it was their choice. And then I showed them all these paintings also. To this date, I met that 4-year-old after many years. She said, I still remember the Jackson Pollock we made. So it's so cute. So certain things when you physically make them, they just become part of your life. And as opposed to that, reading about it and sometimes just passing by it is just not enough. And I think the least is when you click a picture with something that is somehow least impactful.
We had this really nice experience when we went to Luzon, and there is that beautiful carving of the dying lion. I
Hmm.
don't know if it's really beautiful. Like, there's this absolutely majestic looking lion. It's been carved so beautifully, and there's a spear in its side, and the spear has been broken off, so you can just see a bit of the shaft sticking out.
Hmm.
And it brings so much emotion, like, this huge, beautiful, majestic creature, and has been fell down by something as stupid as a spear,
Oh.
and he's lying there and he's dying. And of course, like, we were with a tourist group, and so people were busy standing in front of it and smiling and taking photographs. And there was one lady who was standing aside with a, slightly not so happy expression.
Mm-hmm.
And we were also standing and looking at this sculpture. And then she said, "Don't you find it ridiculous that this is such a poignant piece? and people are smiling and taking photographs in front of it. Like it just destroys the whole, mood and the pathos and whatever it is that the artist has been trying to express. It just kills it completely. And I thought, yeah, actually, how true,
Yeah.
So
Where
yeah,
was this,
sometimes
Salka? It was in
at
Switzerland?
Switzerland, Lucerne, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
very
yeah,
famous
yeah.
sculpture, the Dying Lion,
I've
and it's
seen that.
very
Yeah, yeah.
beautiful. It's really the expression on the lion's face, you can actually feel the agony because he's dying a slow death. That fear is inside. So it's such a beautiful sculpture, and what she said was so true. I mean, what the artist was trying to project and convey, and then you're just standing there and smiling with your brightest smile and all your this thing and taking photographs, laughy, smiley photographs. So yeah. So I
I
think
think
that was
even when I visited, also, people were not taking pictures standing there. They would just
the
click a picture of that
modest thing.
place,
Okay,
but not posing in front of
not
that.
posing in front of it. Yeah. So, but it's really a beautiful sculpture. So I think sometimes even what the artist's mood was when he created that piece, or
Hmm.
I suppose we need to look for that too.
Yeah, yeah, very true. So, Varsha, tell me more about this friend of yours whose painting you've shared.
Mm-hmm.
So, this would be a painting she would make for somebody after what, meeting them.
She, she would, she meditates with having them in mind,
Uh-huh.
and she sees some visions.
Oh, okay.
And she, apparently she sees some symbols.
Hmm.
So I think there's another one also. She made some, many of you are aware of some Punjabi symbol. I don't know. So the colors also, I mean, she sees those colors and those patterns, and then she replicates them.
Hmm.
And she made these for many of those, one of my friends, she got it made for her husband to get some, lot of abundance in every way.
Acha. Maybe.
And for a mother and son, apparently, they were not in good terms or something. So mother wanted to gift it to her son.
Mhm. So I suppose again this is how one relates to color and form, and it must make some difference, I'm sure. Otherwise, why would people be making all these
Yeah.
Marketing.
mug?
No, it's like how your mood. If you realize you wear certain colors depending on your mood.
It must be. That's what I feel. There must
Yeah,
be something.
so there's a theory to all of this.
But I also wonder whether this varies from person to person. Because
Does.
yeah, so for me, I think, a little too rational. So I would always be a little cynical about putting up a painting for well-being. I'd rather do the action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would
Same.
rather go out and work extra hours or get up in the morning and do something more. That makes sense to me. But I guess to other people, just the um, this itself, it could be the motivator. I don't know how it works. I'm very curious about it.
Also, this concept that you said, right? Alcoholism, and they're in so much depression like that. Like
Ah,
that level for me does not exist. I always feel like there's always some way out.
yeah.
So, keeping that in mind, I cannot make those kind of tragic arts. I don't think in my life I can do that.
Hmm.
I think it is also a way to indirectly push the responsibility on something else
Ah,
rather than taking it yourself. I know so many people who have put pyramids all over their house,
yeah. That's also another thing.
on
Yeah.
walls and shelves, because they don't want to. I mean, it's their way of correcting whatever flaws in their life.
Oh, okay.
So unless you take action and correct,
Huh.
how are the pyramids going to help? Is what I always feel,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this. I mean, while I agree with what you say, mental illness is actually very real.
Mental
So
Indeed,
illness, no?
it
yeah, so
is.
mental
And
conditions or
that's not what
depressions.
I
Yeah.
mean. I
So
personally know.
yeah,
So
exactly.
I,
So
yeah, so I'm not
so you
against
can't
that. It's
imagine,
just
like,
that,
so when people say that they are constantly getting negative thoughts, sometimes you can't imagine that happening, but it is,
correct.
yeah, and it can be very debilitating, like, so
Yeah, especially because you can't see it. So nobody's
to understand.
understanding that you've got some sickness. That is very true. It's just like I was taking a personal note to myself. I don't think I would ever be in that state of mind.
And talking about this action thing,
Hmm.
people are commercializing that also.
That's
Earlier
what
they
I'm
used to
about.
have vision boards, now they have action boards.
Action words. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
they're
yeah.
commercializing. It's all like from something that can be pure. You can
Yeah.
see there's so many people making. This is what I meant by the marketing.
Wherever there is a need, it can be filled by some business prospect. That is one thing what
Yeah.
human, wherever
Absolutely.
looks for something, you will find an opportunity for business.
No,
That's
and then sometimes they will also create it when it doesn't
great.
exist. Then they
Yes.
will convince you need it.
Yeah.
The
Agree.
human mind generally is quite fickle, more fickle than we give it credit.
That's true.
But as Alka said, many people who really have some kind of mental health issues, they are get benefited with these at least.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah,
making their lives better, and that's okay, I guess,
I
as
think
long
so,
as
exactly. So, because that's the reason why I was very curious about how this has helped. Because very often I find that it can also be the it's after all, it's how your mind is. The first thing when you wake up in the morning, if you have positive thoughts and you have thoughts of action, you'll do it. But if you are not in control of that and you have a lot of negativity, you might just succumb to that.
Yeah.
But if you have something like just the right colors around you, and if you are the type who are affected by that, and you can artificially then override the negative emotions, what's the harm? So I feel sometimes, because the thing is that I tend to judge very quickly, and I feel this is all humbug. But we are never, I've never been in anybody's shoes who has a genuine problem. So they must be, I just have faith that they must be benefiting. Oh.
Actually, if you read a book on, what a bipolar patient feels,
Huh?
you will realize that a lot of it is because it's all a chemical that works in your brain,
Correct, yeah.
right? So, because my uncle was bipolar,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, so the whole problem was, I mean, you would see him in his highs and you would see him in his lows,
Hmm.
and totally a different person when he was on his high, totally gungo and really vibrant and everything. And when he was in his low state,
Hmm.
everything was opposite.
My
So a
God.
lot of times these guys, I mean, there's been, I think they've come up with a movie also on how a bipolar person feels. It's like you're trapped inside something,
Hmm.
and you have no control.
Yeah, that's the scary bit, that there's no control.
Yeah, there is no control. So if you are off your medicines, and a lot of times he would go off his medicines, we would be scared because he would just break up everything in the house.
Oh my God. But
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
because he didn't have any control over his actions, I suppose, right? I mean,
No, because
there's moods.
no, the chemical imbalance creates that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. So
And then
these
you
kind of
have
people,
normal, so-called normal people who will judge that and say,
Yeah,
oh, there's
correct.
something wrong. They
So
cannot
yeah,
they
but
express it in
they
words.
All
can't help, the thoughts that they're getting, or
correct.
Correct.
the fact that their mood is, like there will be days when they will just be crying the whole day, and they themselves can't explain why they are crying, but they'll just be sitting and crying.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that.
the
it's
other the
it's
other thing
very
that
debilitating.
uh, yeah, but the other thing that at least I figured out is when a person is extra intelligent,
Hmm.
then this is what happens because he was a brain and a wizard, literally.
Oh.
Uh, so these kind of people have a lot of these kind of issues, mental issues, because um, extra creative, extra intelligence is like you're on the brink of madness.
Ah, okay.
When you
Yeah, so
analyze
very
it, that's
often geniuses have terrible personal lives. And
yeah,
uh, again, mood swings must be the case. High IQ,
yeah,
good people.
yeah, very high IQ. He was like a gold medalist from IIT Kharagpur.
By
Um,
the way, IIT
was
can be blamed for a lot of these things. Huh? I've
I
met
agree.
so many people
I
from
agree.
IIT.
When I watch this Kota factory
Hey,
and
no,
all,
no,
I'm
no,
like,
no, no,
what
no. I
are
got
they
my
doing?
my husband is from IIT. Please don't blame them.
But I have come across so many people from IIT, something they need to do something about the fact that they are the hotbed of all geniuses. And if there is a, a problem like that, the geniuses are, I guess, suffering from, they should take cognizance. But I think now they do. They engage
I
the students in more activities than just their topic of interest.
I
So,
feel geniuses are intolerant of other people mainly because we don't match up to their level of
yeah,
genius. And they become frustrated with our lack of quick understanding, and probably they think that we are fools. And they can't
so
suffer
they
us too
do.
gladly. That's
Correct.
also a possibility.
And they get isolated. So I work on a work with an organization that works with geniuses. So they are high IQ kids who are groomed for a very young age in two ways. One, of course, is to harness their intelligence, and the second, a large part of it is just keeping them normal. And I didn't realize that that was even a problem till I worked with these people. I've been doing stuff with them for about 6 years now.
Oh,
So I have to do just an art activity. And my question to the research person was, why do you want to do art with these guys? They're obviously interested in physics and maths, and they look down upon art with such scorn. So why do you want me to teach them that? After the first year, I was so traumatized by this 11-year-old who would look at me like I'm just like कौन सी चींटी को ले आए हो मेरे सामने हटा दो he was terrible, and I felt like he was subtly, he was very openly, he was bullying me into thinking that I was a complete waste of dharti par boj. So his name was Ishan. Very sweet boy. He was just 11 years old. But he said, I can't do this. You tell me you give me a problem about string theory and I will solve it. I said, no, I can only give you string painting to do. You have to do it. That is your problem today. So I spoke with the resource people who work with these children, and they told me a couple of very interesting things. And that then for the next session that I had, I knew how to deal with Ishan. So they're not forced into doing any of the art. I made it such that they could do whatever bit of it they wanted. I gave them ample opportunity to choose. But at the end of the day, they had to create something. So in what she said was because of their high IQ, they're able to grasp more than their age allows, and then they race ahead in their subject, and then they keep thinking that this is the way that they need to attack that topic. So physics, maths, these are the usual problems or subjects that these kids find exciting. And then they also find the regular work that they do in schools very boring. They don't want to do stuff that the kids are around them are doing. They feel that they're really dumb. So they also tend to become very mischievous in class. A lot of times, when in middle school, the kids who are standing outside are kids with high IQ who are just bored in class. So then these kids were sent to a special class where they were given more challenging sums or problems or whatever to solve. But then during the same time, I met this person who, at a performance, who was helping a friend of mine that was performing just pack up stuff. And he was like one of three physicists who were qualified to solve one very, very specific technical problem regarding some computing issue. So there's only three people in the world who can do this. And he did this work in California. This was about 3 years ago. And he just chucked it one day, said, bus ho gaya, and he ran back. And when I met him, he was learning to play the flute or the guitar, and he was also writing poetry. And I said, a perfect person to catch from somebody who is at the pinnacle of your subject in physics. Why did you choose guitar and poetry? So he said to me that he he had come to such an extreme end of the topic which required his genius that beyond that there was only an abyss. He did not have the next problem to solve. And he said this was like being at a precipice from where uske baad I can just jump and there's nothing else. To save himself from extreme depression, he just completely backtracked and changed his direction. He said, I don't care. I'm not getting accolades. I'm not getting people saying, oh, how great you are. I had to just give up all of that because that's what was feeding him. And I had to just find a place where I could be sane. So he wasn't burning out. He himself felt that this is coming to an end and then I will not know what to do. The vacuum of not knowing was going to be his end. And he's a very peaceful person. So he wasn't like jittery or anything. He's very peaceful. So fortunately, he had logicked that out thanks to his high intelligence. And then for 6 months that I met him, he had done this.
And that's what happens to people who stop working and suddenly they have nothing to do.
It must be, no? Something
Yeah, it is.
similar.
It
To
is.
at least
So
some
we
degree.
always talk about it like in the financial perspective. We always say
Huh?
that finance and everything's fine, but life you need to have a purpose. So and it can be anything.
Correct.
So just because you stop working, and I usually see that a lot with the men. Women
Mhm.
somehow or the other have something always to do. We never like stop.
That's
But
true.
with men, they find it difficult. So they always say that just don't learn just what you're doing or your job. Always
Mm.
find something else.
Yeah, so same thing. Then I've been asking a lot of people why what are the things that people can move to, and why does art seem to be a place that can help? Even these resource people for the gifted children, I asked. So, according to them, this was I think there is a word for this. It's like a closed loop satisfaction. You start and end something yourself, and I there's a term for this. I'll come up with. I'll tell you what that is. But there is something about working with your hands as far as art is concerned. Learning the skill of making a tune on an otherwise uh, inanimate object and building that skill, which seems to be a pursuit that can firstly be endless. And since we have finite time, you can you can constantly be improving your skill, and that gives you something to wake up the next morning. It's as simple as that. So a couple of times, a couple of incidents that happened to me were, one was after my daughter was born, I suffered this postpartum depression. Thankfully, I had read about it. It was not very extreme. So 3 days after she was born, I was weeping the whole day, and there was no reason for it. You could have cracked a joke in front of me, and I would have still been weeping, but weeping without any sorrow. That was the craziest feeling. So my mom was sitting right next to me. She was trying to comfort me. She said, "What happened? Tell me what happened." And I'm telling her repeatedly, "See, I have read about this. This is what happens to all, not all, many women after birth and all." I gave her the whole spiel and I told her, "Nothing is wrong with me. I'm not even sad. These tears are just like cleansing. Like I lost that placenta, I'm losing tears. Bus, that's it." And she just couldn't understand the whole thing. She felt so uncomfortable. And she then kept telling me, "Okay, now just dry your tears, forget about this. You have to feed a baby. You won't lactate properly." She went into other completely different track altogether. So I remember how helpless I felt, and those tears just wouldn't stop no matter what I did. And that's what when I realized that when we have that mental illness, this is it must feel like that, completely out of control. You sometimes know what's happening to you, but you can't stop it. And then what was the other time something similar had happened, but now I forget. One of my students had this problem. So sometimes she attends, sometimes she doesn't attend. So I had to tell her that you take it as it comes. For her, every day is different. Some days she is fine, and some days she's in absolute hell. And she's also, I think she also suffers from like a paranoid schizophrenia. And I mean, who would naturally want that for themselves? It's just so sad. So I just wanted to tell you all that this, whichever painting you're doing, if you have large areas which are one color or they are textured, like in the case of this flower, the backdrop is black and blue. I obviously can't make the thin blue lines. So I'm going to paint this in negative. And I don't want to waste all that blue colored ink of my brush pens on this backdrop, which is mostly going to be hidden. So I'm making this in watercolor, and then I will make the black in, again, I could make it in watercolor itself. That could itself be very therapeutic. Now, everything else in this painting will have to be the negative or positive dots. When you're writing about the artist, maybe you could start by writing your first impression also of Yayoi Kusama. And then write the how you either enjoyed the process of making the art, why you selected the one you did. So this exhibition is on till the 11th of February, the pop art exhibition. And I will be in Bombay for the Mahindra Blues Festival, which is on the 10th and 11th. So my plan was to visit the gallery on the 10th.
This is the 10th of February, Aditi, you're talking
Feb,
about?
yeah, Feb.
Okay.
So if you all are open to it, then we could probably do the thing together. If Bombay people are willing to
Yeah, that would be nice.
get together, yeah, then we can do some discussion. So right now, just block the date. Our dates are blocked any case. We'll be driving in on the 9th, and then 10th we will go to NMAC, my daughters call it. If you want to expand this art form, you can think of different ways to explore this also. Like I said, you could take just objects around the house, everyday objects, and find a way to put dots on them. So you could take maybe the back of a or like a earbud and make dots. So put a base color with maybe acrylic paint, and then make those dots. And most importantly, juxtaposition. So try and put them in an unexpected place, or put them in an unexpected form in the expected place. Like imagine a polka dotted light bulb that you put in the light socket. Does nothing, doesn't work maybe, but it might just work. It might create a whole polka dotted space. So you could create your own infinity room by making dots on the light bulb.
Hmm.
Some years ago, I think, or was it last year, we did did we do a piece on Pete Mondrian?
Yeah.
So Pete Mondrian apparently is considered the originator of minimalism. I double checked this right away because I remember seeing how he minimalized his paintings from regular landscape to just lines and color. So in the same vein as what Mark Rothko is trying to do, Pete Mondrian, I guess, experienced that need first. That joke, you must have heard it or even told it in school. In an art competition or art exam in school, a child submits a white paper, like a blank paper, and the art teacher says, "Why are you giving me this? Why didn't you do something?" And he said, "I've already done it." So the teacher says, "What have you done? I don't see anything." He says, "Don't you see all that grass and the cow and the mountains and whatnot?" So the teacher says, "No, I don't see anything. Where's the cow? Or where's the grass?" And then he says, "The cow ate the grass." And then he says, "Okay, fine, where's the cow?" "The cow walked away now. What is she going to do when the grass is all gone?" So that was, I think that was a fun look at minimalism. That you could take a white sheet of paper and build any story you want around it and just call it minimalist art.
So my son did this, he made this elaborate drawing. He must have been about 4 or 5 of
Mm.
a zoo, and then he made all these individual cages, and he put a deer and a giraffe and something,
So
something, something.
cute. Mm.
And in the middle there was this empty cage.
Ah.
So my father was looking at the painting and talking to him about it, and he's like, "What is this empty cage for?" He said, "Oh, that's the lion's cage." So
Mm.
he said, "Oh, so where's the lion?" So he says, "No, he was very old and he died
Oh,
because he didn't know how to draw lions."
oh my God. That is so cute.
So right in the center of the painting is this big empty cage. But
But
yeah,
he wanted to make the lion's presence felt there.
felt, but
Amazing.
he wasn't sure about how to go about drawing the lion or whatever. So
Fabulous. See, this is the cop out, no? That you don't know how to do it, you just call it a minimalist painting. But your kid was a genius, huh? So how's everyone's painting looking?
I am generally just enjoying myself.
That's great. I think
you
this
want
is
to see? I'm
another.
just
1 second, let me just see everyone's. I'll just change the view. Wow, very nice. Ritika's are looking fun. Ritu's also looking very nice. Alka's are looking good. Acha, you made lettering also. Beautiful. Tarini is also nice. So fun, na? This is a nice activity to do. Again, waiting room activity is very good. That is also very nice.
Ritika, just show yours, yeah.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
wow,
so nice.
lovely
Shivani is
flowers.
also nice.
Beautiful.
Ritika, show yours. I didn't see Ritika's. I can't see. Ah,
Varsha, what are
right.
you doing?
Wait,
I can't see.
wait, I'm
But
removing
you have
spotlight.
to hold it up.
Say pumpkin. I have to take
Oh,
out this one.
okay, okay.
Very nice.
Even the thought came, maybe I draw some Christmas baubles, and do some polka
Yeah,
dots.
of course. Why not? So there's a
I'm
lot.
tired.
Oh,
I think
lovely.
I'll complete this later
Wow.
now.
Beautiful.
But it's very therapeutic. Yes. Nothing like
Susan, that is brilliant, huh?
Yeah.
The level of Susan's work. Oh my God.
but yeah, the eyes get tired before the mind.
Did you use
But
watercolor
look at
for
those
the
dots.
yellow?
No, just brush pen. Brush
Okay.
pens.
Okay. It's
Even the dots,
lovely.
Susan. Even the dots are with brush
No,
pen.
dots was fine liner.
Fine then.
Okay. Very
It can,
nice.
It can, get, yeah, it can bleed. It can bleed.
But very pretty, very
Right.
very nice.
So this is a very nice topic to use markers or acrylic markers, opaque markers, all these brilliant colors. Having worked with brush and such a wobbly tip or tool, markers will be a great relief to work with. So you can make paintings and cards. Another thing is you can take a large piece of paper and make all these textures and then cut that paper into gift cards. Any part of this is going to look beautiful because of all the texture and the colors put together. Okay, cool. So I shall leave you to it. Next weekend, what is the situation with everyone? Should we have class? Is everyone available? Next weekend will be the 30th. Great. So then let's do class.
Fine with the class. Yeah,
Available.
yeah.
I'm
Okay.
available.
Because I'm not doing
Yeah.
anything on the 30th at this hour. So we'll
I'm going to other people's house, so I don't have to do anything.
Good. So then we'll have class as usual next week also. And if you have any artists that you would like to explore, please share. Then I'll do some study and maybe we can do that artist. Okay? All right. Cool.
All
See
right.
you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Bye bye.
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 Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas,
Bye.
children. Bye.
Bye.